you need to get away from it sometime, or just like you said, you need a sounding board and someone that you can trust, that you can say those things and they know they're not going to take it personal, and they're going to offer you advice or input on how to get better, or, hey, you're off here. I think if you did this, you get back on track for you. And that, I think that's monumental. I think of all the things in technology today and our ability to measure everything, I think that is it's a piece that maybe you can't measure, but it's also probably one of the most important pieces.
To me, it's invaluable. You know, we may have our moments when we're on the road where, okay, we've been stuck together for 3 weeks now, but we know we love each other and we respect each other. And that's the most important part, is we're completely honest with one another and we have a deep respect for one another. And if you don't have that with whoever you're with, you're not going to have anything. And we both learned that a long time ago, how important it is. And that's how we are with each other. I know I can tell him anything. It may be the most ridiculous, stupid, funny thing or serious thing, and he's going to listen to me, and vice versa. You know, a lot of people tell us we need a YouTube channel or a reality show, because most people just would see us in our daily life and be like, what the hell? What, did they really just do that? Or, you know, what is going on with these people? It's just, but you would see that mutual respect we have. And if you don't have that in this golf world, or really in any world, to me, you just don't have much.
All right, we are live. I am live with Susan Harp, probably also known as Boo Weekley's better half. And anybody that knows Boo knows I say that with the utmost respect. So, Susan,
He would say the same thing.
Yes, thank you for coming on. This is going to be one hell of a fun show. Maybe the most enjoyable yet.
I hope so.
Now, you know, we've talked on and off. This is the first time I guess we've kind of seen we kind of saw face to face when Boo, we did his recording, and you had to set all those things up for him, because he might be the only one on the planet more technically challenged than myself. But I reached out to you to say, hey, what would you think of a tour spouse or partner or wife episode? Because I think that that many people would like to hear the other side of the story, that they see the athlete, they see the celebrity, but they don't know what maybe goes on behind the scene. Maybe they think about, like, God, I wonder what it's like. You know, we see this person on the stage and in the bright lights, but there has to be more to it. And I think people view their sports heroes, Boo being one to many, as heroes, and they forget that they're actual human beings, and they stumble and fall and make mistakes and live lives too. But so I was really looking forward to this one. A lot of people messaged me about it. So I think we're going to really enjoy what you have to say, more so than what I have to ask.
Oh, well, I hope so.
I was trying to think of where to start. And when I get stuck in my own head, I have the mantra of, well, what would it look like if this was simple? And I kept going back to the very first question, I guess, from the beginning for you guys, is, how did you guys meet?
Cool. We've actually known each other roughly 17-ish years.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a small farm community. Everybody knows everybody kind of town. And we would just always run into each other at social gatherings, dinners, restaurants. I was a teacher for 20-ish years, and his kids went to that school. So we just kind of knew each other. We didn't know each other, but we knew of each other. We'd see each other. Hey, how are you? How's the family? Okay, great. Nice to see you. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Real brief kinds of things. Well, we've been together now 8-ish years. But he found out I was single. I didn't know he was single. He found out I was single and called everybody and their brother or sister's mama, got my phone number from a mutual friend, because we had a ton of mutual friends. And finally one of them was like, let me ask her first. She calls me up and says, hey, Boo wants your number. I didn't give it to him. I want to make sure it was okay with you first. This was after she gave him the 5th degree about, I'm not giving her number to nobody, and just on and on and on. Give him a hard time. So she asked me, I said, yeah, that's fine. You can give him my number, but let him know I'm fixing to be out of town for about a week. It was Thanksgiving. I was teaching. I was out of school for a whole week. I was going to go stay with some friends in the middle of Nowhereville, Alabama, at their hunting camp. No phone service, no cell service, no texting, none of that. So I figured If you give him my number and he tries to call, he's going to think I'm just, ghosting him, blocking
Uh-huh.
him, whatever. So just let him know that, if he tries to call or text, whatever, in the next week, I'm just not going to get it. I'm not going to get anybody's call or text. So about a week and a half later, he shoots me a text and we just start chatting. About a week after that, we go out and we've been together ever since.
And I'm assuming he was the perfect gentleman.
Absolutely. Yes, he was holding the doors, pulling the chair out for you, even giving me the yes, ma'am. And I'm like, look, we're about the same age. Don't call me ma'am. Even to this day, though, he calls me ma'am. But yeah, he was the perfect gentleman. And it was just good timing. Since we knew each other, we were somewhat comfortable with each other. We'd never spent time alone. We had never beyond the 2 seconds in a hallway or whatever, hey, how are you kind of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew who each other was, kind of a little bit of our background, that sort of thing. So it made it easy.
What type of adjustment was it as y'all started dating more, seeing each other more, talking more, and then to go out in to the professional golf world? What was that something that was like, holy cow, this is, it's not it's not one of the big three sports, but I mean, it's big enough. It's televisions and
Mm-hmm.
interviews and radios and all the whole nine yards. Was that kind of a culture shock to you, especially because I know you guys are from a small town in a small area? That was that way different going out in the bright lights and seeing all these things, or what was it just, hey, I'm going to kind of step back and let him do his thing because he's more or less used to this, and I'm just going to slowly acclimate myself?
It was actually kind of a mix because when we started seeing each other, he was injured. So he wasn't really playing golf. So he was home all the time, which, I thought was great because he was home all the time.
Mm.
In my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm never going to see this guy. He's going to be gone, for weeks on end. And that just wasn't the case. And I think that was good for us in the beginning because he was home. We did get to go on normal dates after I would get off work or on the weekends or whatever like that. But then when he did start back, I was still working. So that was a change for us because I wasn't going with him. He'd be gone 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time. And I understood that. I grew up with my dad who worked out of town. I understood you do what you got to do. You're going to be gone. I'm going to survive. I'll be fine. And I'll be here when you get back. But then it got to be where, okay, I get a 3-day weekend. I'm going to come join you. And it was a shock. I'd never been to anything like that before. I think I went to one professional golf tournament in my life up to that point, and it just happened to be at the Moors in Milton, right outside of Pensacola,
Uh-huh.
good 20 years ago. I mean, it was a long time ago. And of course, I was on the outside of things at that time. So going and being in the thick of things, it was kind of like, whoa, okay, I know who that guy is. I know who that guy is. And these are actual big name golfers that, I'm seeing in person. I'm like, this is a bit of a shock. Now it's not so much a shock. I'm like, okay, you put your pants on the same way we do, one leg at a
Right.
time. But yeah, at first it was totally different. There's cameras everywhere. There's people wanting to interview him about different things. And I'm just back there going, I'm going to stay way back here. You go do your thing. You call me if you need me. But now I've adjusted to it. It's a lot easier now. And I can see kind of the inner workings of how things go. But yeah, at first it was a bit of a shock for me. It was
I could
different.
imagine it's definitely an adjustment period. Everyone understands because the players are interviewed. Like, when you were on the mini tours or you're in the Corn Ferry Tour, and now you're on the
Mm-hmm.
PGA Tour, and now you're on the Champions Tour, and everyone's well versed in their adjustments, but they really don't hear the side of the family or the kids or the spouse or the significant other,
Right.
fiance, soon to be, or in the very near future to be, the Mrs. Weekley.
That's
Um,
right.
but it's very interesting that there are that similar adjustments that people have to make, because it's not like you just go out there and this isn't something that you can practice. You can't go to your local mall and experience the overwhelmingness of a bright lights and tour vans and TVs and all that stuff. So it's not like you can prepare. It's just you get thrown into the fire and it's like, go survive.
Yeah, it's sink or swim.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And I figured it out.
Did y'all have conversations about that? Did you talk to him about, hey, this is a lot. Can you, it might take me a little
He
time to get used to?
he would kind of warn me ahead of time. It can be overwhelming. If people want his time, people want my time. You just have to kind of do what you're comfortable with.
Uh huh.
So
Yeah,
at first, I just basically stayed more in the background, and I'm completely fine with that. Even now, I'm totally fine with that. I don't want the attention. I don't want all that. I'm not there for that reason. I'm there to support him and what he's doing in his job. And all the rest of it just kind of comes along with it, and you do the best you can with it.
One question, my girlfriend, we've been together 20 years. And I was still pursuing playing when we met. And I told her, I said, Susan's coming on, and she said, "Oh my God, you got to ask her some questions for me." Because she had nobody to bounce this off of. In our area, I think at that time I was the only one playing, and there wasn't any spouse or girlfriend that she could ask. So one question she wanted to ask is, how do you deal with the emotional roller coaster when you're watching someone you care about play, when they're experiencing ups and downs? Or I'm not supposed to ask multiple questions in one, but either the ups and downs, or the elation and getting too high, or the downside and trying not to get too low. How do you walk through that experience?
It's tough. It can be tough. There's times where I'll just hide behind a tree, or I lag behind or get way ahead. And I do like to get ahead just because I like to see where the golf ball is going to.
Mhm.
I've seen him hit the ball 1,000 times. I know what a swing looks like. So I get why people want to stand right there and watch him hit the ball, because it is an amazing swing. But I like to be ahead, and typically he can't see me there, which is a good thing, because there might be 1,000 people in the crowd. There might be 2 people in the crowd. Either way, he can see who's out there. He can see faces. He can read emotions. And knowing he knows me so well, he's going to see those emotions on my face, good, bad, or in between. So that's one of the reasons I try to stay ahead. But I don't have a good poker face. So if it's not going well, you're going to see it. If it's going well, you're going to see it. He doesn't need to see that. So, like I said, I don't have a good poker face. So it's good that I stay ahead. It's good that I hide behind trees if there's some around, or behind people, or, there's been times I've turned my back on it, not being rude or anything, but I'm like, I can't watch. He doesn't need to see my emotion, because I'm not very good at hiding my emotion. If I'm happy, I'm going to cry. If I'm sad, I'm going to cry. I cry at everything. I'm a crier. So he doesn't need to see any of that. Nobody around me needs to see any of that. It can get ugly. So yeah, it can be hard to hold the emotions in, but you try to be professional about it, even though I'm not a professional, golf watcher as I
Mhm.
walk the course. But yeah, I just try to keep it in check. I try to keep it together. There have been times I've lost it, and there's times my hands go over my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, and I try not to do that. I just try to hold it together.
Is it almost I don't want to use the wrong analogy, but trying to come up with something that the listeners can kind of picture in their head, a helpless type of feeling, but very similar. The easiest way to explain this, because there's not many spouses out there, significant others who have someone playing a professional sport, but I think a lot of people can relate it to watching their kids play sports, and that they want to help them, but obviously they can't run out of the stands or
Hmm.
behind the ropes and help. So I would have to imagine it's somewhat of a similar feeling for somebody trying to put themselves in your shoes, and the emotional up and down of watching someone you care about so deeply, trying to achieve a goal or perform a task or win an event or do well at whatever they're trying to do.
Right. It is tough. I mean, I totally get the analogy of watching your kids play. And of course, they're your kids. You want them to do well. You want them to succeed. You want them to feel that great feeling of, I just accomplished something.
Uh-huh.
But it's like that on a grander scale, only because this is his job. This is our livelihood. This is his career that he's put his blood, sweat, and tears into for countless years. And it's not like saying, okay, I don't want to be a professional golfer anymore. I'm going to go work for a different company. It's not like that. It's not like just switching jobs to a different company or something like that. This is it. This is his life, and I shouldn't say it like that, because his family and his friends are his life just as much as his career.
Yes.
But there's a lot at stake. And a lot of people don't realize that. Oh, you just go out there and you play golf and you meet all these people and you make all this money and you have this great thing going on. And that's not necessarily the case. I mean, if you don't play well, you don't make any money. It's not like being a baseball player or a basketball player or a football player on a contract where you're going to get paid regardless of how you perform that day. You don't perform well and you come in, say, last place, well, you're now in the negative this week. You've spent more
Yeah,
than you
because your
just
mortgage,
made.
the bank didn't say, "Well, you missed the cut, so don't worry. We'll let your mortgage slide for this week." And
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
power companies don't say, "Don't worry about it. You know, we you've been with us a long time. You don't have to pay us this
Right.
week, or we'll defer payment." It's not how it happens.
No, and a lot of people don't realize that. They just think, oh, you go out there and you do this and this and you make this and this, and that's just not the case. Like I said, if you come in last place, you've just had to pay your caddy, your hotel, your flight, you had to eat. You might have needed to run to the store and get a new pair of shoes or some socks, or maybe you left some toiletries behind. You've got all these expenses, and not saying we're staying at the Ritz-Carlton every week and flying first class or private everywhere we go. That's certainly not how we live. But if you don't play well and you don't make that money, then you're in the negative. And like you said, with the mortgage and all that, they don't care if you didn't make the cut. They still want their payment. So it's not like a lot of other professional sports where it's like, we're just rolling all of a sudden. You can play how you want to this week. It doesn't matter. You're still getting paid. That's not how this works.
Yeah, I think that from the coaching perspective, I was talking to Dennis Sales yesterday. We were discussing how amateurs, when they come in for lessons, or juniors in particular, the juniors are the biggest ones. They think that they have to play perfect golf all the time, because that's often what they see on television, because they're seeing the leaders and they're seeing
Hmm.
the top players in the world for that week. But they forget that changes most weeks. Player might get on a little streak and for a month or two, or Scotty Scheffler's on one hell of a streak now for a year and a half, 2 years. But
Right.
they don't see the people who are week in, week out, maybe struggling with their game for a spell, and they're trying to make the cut, and the frustrations of that. And you go out and watch them, and it's like, wow, they hit it in the trees, or they three putt once in a while, and they don't hit it perfect. And so I don't think I have to. And I think more people kind of stopped and looked at that, and then they stopped and looked at, yeah, if these guys, or even the girls on the LPGA, if they don't make the cut, they're out X amount of thousand for the week for all the expenses. And they only see the winners, the 700,000 or million or $2 million paycheck, and they forget there's 100 and some odd extra players in the field that week, and half of them, or less than half, or more than half, didn't get anything.
Right. And being on the Champions Tour, or even if you're on the Corn Ferry Tour, it's not quite the same as being on the PGA Tour. Yeah, you have the potential to make a great living at it, but you're going to have to stay in the top 10, 20, even 30 to make a decent living with it. And it's not the same payouts as the PGA Tour. It
Uh-huh.
is totally different. So, you might win on the PGA Tour, you're going to get one of those big giant checks for 1 point something million, and you're going to win on the Champions Tour or Corn Ferry Tour. Don't get me wrong, it's a nice paycheck, but it's not the same.
Exactly.
And a lot of people think that it is, and it's not.
But the other thing I think people forget is, I think some people, like, I have friends in medical sales that they're in the management position, but obviously they've been in that for now 30 years. But when they started, they'd tell me, if you missed your quota for X amount of quarters in a row, then they let you go. And that's the only thing I really found to be close to playing professional golf. And if you miss your cut, you're not getting paid. Well, if you miss your quotas for enough time, you're going to lose you lose your job. And in golf, you don't make enough money for a particular year, you're out of job. So you're going from Champions Tour to limited to no status. And now you got to go to you do all the qualifyings and start from scratch again. Or whatever, you're falling down. So you might be making a lot of money in relationship to the average Joe that's watching TV, but in keeping your job, it's completely different. And
Right. And I mean, you're absolutely right. And I've never really heard it put that way, but that's saying it perfectly. I mean, you don't meet your quota, you lose your job.
uh-huh.
Basically, it's just that simple. It shouldn't be that simple, but it is that simple. Like a guy for Boo who's about to be 52 years old. He's worked all these years for, to get where he's at. You would think he would have more status than what he does, but he just doesn't. And there's some weeks where he would have to qualify or hope he gets a sponsor's invite or whatnot. And luckily this season it's going really well, and he's playing a lot of tournaments, and we feel like it's going to be a successful year. Um, but being on this tour was an adjustment from being on the other tours. But we feel like he's kind of got his feet wet. Like the first year, it was like he was a rookie all over again on the Champions Tour. You're learning new golf courses you may never have been to. You're playing with people you played with before, but it might have been 20 years ago. It's a whole different group, and the way they set things up, or they have you play pro-ams a little differently. His weeks are absolutely insane most weeks. We're in the Iowa right now. We got here Sunday evening. He had Monday off, so he got a little bit of a break, but that was after playing, last week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday pro-am, Friday, Saturday, Sunday tournament. So he's playing 6 days in a row. Most people are like, oh, you get to play golf 6 days in a row. But when your paycheck depends on that, it's not like playing at the local golf course with your buddies, drinking beer the whole time.
No, I don't think most people understand the energy drain mentally more so than anything. When you're in
Definitely.
contention, like he was last week, the mental strain that you're under is self-imposed, but you're talking about on your tour. So the best senior tours in the world, the PGA Tour, the best players in the world, the LP, pick your tour, whatever you are, but you're going up against the best that there are. And the mental anguish that you go through, and I don't care what level, Tiger Woods would say after Sunday, he had to take time off. And here he's arguably the best ever. But to do that and then just turn around and you got to travel. Usually, I'm assuming you guys drove, maybe you flew, depending on the distance you got to go. But I know you have driven quite a bit. You're driving 400, 500, 700 miles after you just played a week, right. And then you get one day off. Get your shit together, and,
yeah.
And then you got to go right back at it.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, in that one day, but if I'm not out here, that's his laundry day now because I'm not here to do it. And don't get me wrong, I love doing laundry. I don't mind it one bit. I'm very happy to do this. Very happy to be out here with them on the road. So a lot of things that I'll take care of, if I'm not here, it's on him now. So I try to take that off of him. He doesn't need that worry. His focus needs to be on practicing and playing, not doing laundry, not making phone calls, not sending texts and emails, not interacting with people that, it's things I can handle. It's scheduling things and whatnot. His focus needs to be elsewhere.
Yes, I tell young kids that ask me, or their parents ask me about turning professional if they're in college or they're in their 20s and they have a deep desire to do it. And I say, well, it's not, once you go to play professionally, it's not so much the ability to play and shoot low scores, but it's all the variables that you have to manage when you're on the road and you're going to cities that you haven't been to before. It's like, where do you stay? Where do you eat? Where do you do your laundry if you're gone for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time? Where do you do all these things? Because it's just, there might be little things, but those little things stack up. And again, when you're trying to play the best you possibly can and you have this extra weight weighing you down. When Boo was on, when we did that episode, it's a couple months ago, if I'm not mistaken. Was it last summer?
Right. Yeah.
And he was very quick to give credit to you. And because I asked him, I said, what's the difference between now? Because you seem to be playing good, seem to be enjoying yourself again, compared to the latter part of your life on the PGA Tour. And, you had the injury and everything else. And he said that the biggest thing was his support group, that he had it at home. He had it with you on the road. Everybody he had around him was just very positive and supportive and doing things that allowed him to take his mind off of 10 other things and focus on playing and competing to the best that he could. I mean, he said that repeatedly, and I understood it from someone who really, I mean, it was many tours when I met him. My God, it's hard to believe 20 some years ago, 25 years ago, a quarter century ago. But I experienced that the first year I played. It was so overwhelming, and it only ramps up the higher you go. It's bigger, it's more, bigger cities and so on. I'm not saying that I experienced it, but at a smaller level. You guys have been together a number of years. What was the learning curve like for you to feel comfortable enough when you would see something that he was doing, maybe not in his swing or maybe in his swing, but just him as a person that you felt comfortable enough to bring it up to him? Like if he was not playing where he thought he should be. And of course you're going to be a sounding board. You're taking care of laundry. You're basically his manager. You're emotional support, psychiatrist, psychologist, probably swing instructor at some point, because
Right.
I think he's still with Scott Hamilton. So Scott,
Yes.
you might do a video, but you're on a range of them, and I'm sure you've seen his swing enough. Like you said, you know it, and you can, if he says, I want you to look for this, I'm sure you can point it out. But at, when was a time that you felt comfortable enough to voice your opinion on, hey, snap out of it, or give him a smack upside the head, or hey, if you'd let me, this is something I think that you're not doing, I think you need to be doing. Was there a time that you remember when you felt comfortable enough in the relationship, and enough of seeing him perform and his ups and downs, and where you were right or wrong, that you were able to voice that opinion?
Probably fairly early on, especially when he started going back to playing full time.
Uh-huh.
And then I would join in with him. And he warned me ahead of time when I was still home and he was on the road that, hey, when I come home, I need like a day to decompress. I
Yes.
might just get on a buggy and ride around the property, just catch my breath, have some quiet time with nature. I totally get it. He's an avid outdoorsman. That's his thing. I totally respect that. I have no issue with it. But as far as golf, I don't tell him a whole lot of what to do. I'm in no way and in no position to tell anybody how to hit a golf ball in any form or fashion. But with that being said, I will video. We will send it to Scott. A lot of times his caddy's the one that does that because he can tell him more, okay, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. But I'm more of the mental, emotional side of things because it can take your toll. And if he needs to vent, whether it's, good or bad, I will listen and I will give my 2 cents, whether he likes it or not. Because sometimes it's like, hey, you just got to shut up and you just got to do this. If you don't like it, this is how I feel about it. If he doesn't like it, he might have a moment of, I'm just going to step back and, that sort of thing. Or a lot of times it's like, okay, I'm going to take this in, I'm going to listen to it and thank you, that kind of thing. Because sometimes you just got to have that sounding board. And at the end of a long day or a long week or a long 3 weeks or whatever, sometimes you just got to just like verbal diarrhea almost. You just got to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you got to cry. Sometimes you got to yell or scream. And I know it's never at me. I know it's never to me, but sometimes you need somebody there just to listen to it. I always tell everybody, don't apologize. You got to vent. You got to get it out. Talking about things can make you feel better. Crying about it, laughing about it, yelling about it, it can make you feel better. And he knows that. And I feel like early on with me going to the tournaments, even on 3-day weekends and, me trying to figure out, okay, this is not how he acts at home, but I understand why he acts that way out here. You've got eyes on you. You've got cameras on you. You've got people watching you. You have to hold that in a lot of times until you get in the locker room or in the car or to the hotel or whatever. If you got to have a breakdown, have it. Sometimes it's me having the breakdown. It just happens. It's a lot to take in to
Yeah, you're under a
watch.
lot of, you're under an
You're
immense
under a lot
amount
of
of
stress, a
stress.
lot of pressure, and it's very easy to be like, oh, well, she's just a tour wife and she doesn't do anything and she just goes to the spa all week. No, that's definitely not the case. I spend most of my days taking care of him or taking care of me, and that's not a bad thing. I consider that my job. I don't like to not be busy. I like to stay nonstop, and taking care of him allows me to do that because it is nonstop. There's always something going on. There's always a phone call to make or somebody wanting to talk with him about something or set up this meeting here. And I, I like that he values my opinion. He may not always take my advice. He may not always want to hear my advice, but I'm going to give it to him. And I know that he appreciates me being here to hear all that. He does tell me a lot. Thank you for being here. Thank you for, you could be home still teaching, or you could be home doing this or that or whatever else, but you're choosing to be out here with me and I want you here with me. And he's very clear on telling me these things. Of course, I reciprocate because I'm thankful for him for letting me be out here and experience this life, even though it's crazy sometimes. I'm appreciative of it. And, we really are blessed. We're blessed with what we get to do and the people we get to meet and the places we get to see. But a lot of times it is, like the song says, seeing the world's not really seeing the world through the window of an A to B. You know, it may look glorious that we're in Washington, D.C., or we're in Seattle, or we're here, or we're there, but when all you're seeing is the golf course, not that glamorous. And, it'll hit you sometimes that you're kind of stuck between a hotel, a restaurant, and a golf course.
Uh-huh.
You don't get to get out and do a whole lot sometimes. And that can catch up to you. When you don't have free time in your work weeks, it can catch up to you. And I'm glad he uses me as a sounding board for that. Because, like I said, he may not like what I have to say sometimes, but I will say it. And I know he appreciates it.
I could just imagine that if y'all get back to the hotel and you're sitting there watching TV and you know that you know his mannerisms, you know him probably as well or better than anybody at this point, and you know that why he might do things and why he might not, the good and the bad. And if you notice some of
Hmm.
the bad things that are happening a little too much and he's not playing good, and I can imagine you bringing it up to him, and if he's still mad at himself or is not happy with his play, he might be
Hmm.
Yosemite Salmon under his breath while you're trying to explain it to him.
Yeah, he will.
Yes.
He
But
makes
then
a certain face, and I can see it.
yes, but then he's got enough trusting you, obviously,
He does.
to know that you're more than likely right, and and I'm sure over the years that you have offered things that have worked, and now he has more trust. I'm sure were sometimes maybe you didn't have it quite right, and but as you said, his appreciation of you is well documented, at least to me, and as you mentioned to yourself. That is, I think that's monumental in any athlete or any person, whether it be in their career in corporate world or in the golf club world or
Absolutely.
whatever they're doing, teaching. I know my mom was a teacher for 30, 40 years, and you need support because even if you're very meticulous and you're structured and you do this your repetitive nature every day, it can just wear you down. You need to get away from it sometime, or just like you said, you need a sounding board and someone that you can trust, that you can say those things and they know they're not going to take it personal, and they're going to offer you advice or input on how to get better, or hey, you're off here, I think if you did this you get back on track for you. um and that I think that's monumental. I think of all the things in technology today and our ability to measure everything, I think that is it's a piece that maybe you can't measure, but it's also probably one of the most important pieces.
To me, it's invaluable. You know, it, we may have our moments when we're on the road where, okay, we've been stuck together for 3 weeks now, but we know we love each other and we respect each other. And that's the most important part, is we're completely honest with one another and we
Uh-huh.
have a deep respect for one another. And if you don't have that with whoever you're with, you're not going to have anything. And we both learned that a long time ago, how important it is. And that's how we are with each other. I know I can tell him anything. It may be the most ridiculous, stupid, funny thing or serious thing, and he's going to listen to me, and vice versa. A lot of people tell us we need a YouTube channel or a reality show because most people just would see us in our daily life and be like, what the hell? What did they really just do that? Or, what is going on with these people? It's just, but you would see that mutual respect we have. And if you don't have that in this golf world, or really in any world, to me, you just don't have much.
Right. And I where was I going to go with that?
Did I throw you off?
I was just listening to so much I completely forgot what I was going to ask you next. But yeah, a YouTube channel, I think you guys would kill it. I mean, you'd probably give Bryson run for his money on subscribers, and the number one golf YouTube channel on the internet. That would be
It
uh,
would be interesting. People
yes.
would definitely get some laughs.
I can imagine.
Definitely get some laughs. He's quite the jokester, and I'm, like I said, I don't have a poker face, so if he's trying to pull a joke on somebody, I just have to walk away because I'm all, yeah, I can't.
Do you ever? I know you mentioned being in cities and sometimes attractions in those cities or things to do. Is there ever a time that you both just say, "Come on, I'm not going to practice this afternoon. I'm not going to go to the range. Let's just go see these sites in DC. Let's go to Capitol Hill, or let's go look at the White House or Washington
Hmm.
Monument or Lincoln Memorial, whatever." Um, and different parts of the country and the world. I don't know if you went to the Middle East. I know that the tour had those videos. But
We
wherever
did.
you're going, is there ever a point that you just go to such a cool place and you just want to, again, break the monotony of the life on tour and say, come on, let's go check these things out. Let's just get away from it and reset.
Yeah, there'll be times like that. He knows why he's out here is to play golf, and there might be like a morning, hey, I'm just going to go practice this afternoon. Me and you, let's go do whatever. Like in Washington State, outside of Seattle in Snoqualmie, we took an afternoon. We went to see the waterfall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's still in his golf clothes. I'm in leggings and a sweatshirt, no makeup, hair in a ponytail. I don't care. I usually look that way anyway. We went and hung out at the waterfall. It was beautiful. Went and had lunch. It was a great afternoon. So we try to do that in different places. Sometimes we just don't have time between pro-ams or dinners or the tournament, or maybe we're just too tired. We're very simple, easy people. Last night we ate leftovers from the hotel restaurant in front of the TV in our hotel room. But to us, we got to spend time together. You know, we got
Yes.
to laugh and, you know, just chill out. And it's a perfect evening.
Yeah.
Wouldn't trade that
Quiet.
for anything.
You
It
don't
was
have to,
quiet.
yeah, nothing going on. Your brain can at least shut down a little bit and relax. And because
Yes.
again, once you get on that big stage, in athletics or even, corporate life, I had some friends, dear family friends who are very, very high up in Fortune 100 companies that, you're always under that spotlight, like you said, and you can't be yourself all the time. Even though the public, well, you need to be yourself. Yeah. Well, media doesn't let you, and people, the world doesn't let you. They want you to be a certain way, and sometimes you have to be a certain way. But it is nice to just get in a hotel room and say, yeah, we're not doing anything.
Step back and relax for a little bit.
Yes. It's very underrated.
Very much so. Very much. Um, like at Regions just recently, you know, we kept having rain delays, this, that, and the other. Where you get up, you're at the course. He likes to be at the course at least 2.5 hours before his tea time, eat breakfast, you know, stretch, warm up. He's got a set routine.
Uh-huh.
When you do that and you get there and your tea time's supposed to be, say, 11, well, it's raining, it gets backed up to 12, then to 1, then to 2, and then all of a sudden you're not teeing up till 3:30. Well, now you've sat there all this time, or you try to stay warmed up or whatnot, and then you play till dark. Well, you've spent all day with your mind going, oh my gosh, I got to play golf. I got to do well, and I got to do this, and I got to stay warmed up. And when's my tea time going to be? And, you know, it can make for a long day. So when we do have times where we get to sit down and relax and enjoy each other's company or just have quiet time or either one, we try to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think more people should do that just in general life instead of on the go all the time and social
I
media
agree.
and binge watching and everything. It's like, give your mind a rest. People wonder why they get
Exactly.
so stressed out. Body can't handle it. I have to imagine that I know on the regular tour, just from all the friends I had that played there, that there would be groups for the wives and spouses to get together, and they would have clubs where they would do things for local charities or what have you. Have you developed I'm sure you have a group of friends on the Champions Tour, and are there any organizations that y'all get involved in that kind of give you another avenue of something to do for the countless hours that he's at the golf course?
Yes, it's not as involved as the regular PGA Tour. They definitely do a lot more
Mm-hmm.
organized activities and charitable work type of things. But out here, it's not as much. You might go a month without something being organized like that.
Huh.
When we were in Houston last month, there was a dinner, a lunch at a local cancer center. So we got to tour it. We made floral arrangements for some of the patients, some of the recovering cancer patients. But we got to learn more about the organization itself and how they ran and how to support it and that sort of thing. So that was a good experience. But some tournaments will do the total opposite and we'll go do an activity. At one time we went to lunch and they took us to candle making or something like that, which that's fun. But there's not a whole lot of organized activities like that in most of the events, which I found very surprising because there's a lot of opportunity for that. But I think it's really up to each individual tournament to put something like that together. I don't think the tour itself does that. But a lot of us will get together outside of, those activities. Hey, you want to go to lunch tomorrow? Or, that sort of thing. Hey, you're not doing laundry tomorrow, are you? You want to get together? That sort of thing.
I
See,
get it, I guess it
but
become almost like neighbors because you're on the road.
it
So
is,
you're on the road for sometimes a month at a time, and it's the same group of people. You either got to get along with them, you
or you
somehow
don't.
figure out how to make it work, or you don't.
I refer to it as a traveling band of gypsies because we all just go town to town. It's 99% the same people. Which, don't get me wrong, everybody's fabulous. I get along with everyone. I love everyone, and it's always great to get together with some of the girls for lunch and do that sort of thing. But I know everybody also has their own lives. A lot of the ladies will fly home during the week and come out for the tournament. A lot of people are having grandkids now and they want to be home for that. I totally understand it. We don't. Kids do not have kids anytime soon. So yeah, but we don't have that yet. So I can understand why they would want to go home during the week and see those little babies like that.
Do you find that during the course of those discussions that the conversation will gravitate towards similar things that you all are experiencing with the guys and they're playing? Do you help each other out without giving away too many details on personal things? But you say, hey, we went through something similar back last year in Iowa, and here's how
Yeah,
we went about it. Do you help each other like that? Because like the players, you try to beat each other's brains out when you're on the golf course, but then you go to the range, and I think it's just the nature of a golfer that you're very charitable and you want to help people, and you have helped. Hey, I noticed that you did this. You're struggling with this with your swing. I noticed your alignment was off, or it's something simple to try to help your fellow man. Do the ladies do it as well? That hey, from what you told me at lunch, here's something that we experienced similar, and here's what we did to kind of work through that. Does that happen?
definitely. Yeah, because all of us we're kind of in the same boat.
Uh-huh.
We're in a sense the backbone of what's going on with a lot of things, and so we're able to understand each other. With what we're having to do or not do, or places to be and not be. And then, we might have our own health struggles or issues or family issues. And so you're dealing with what the player or spouse is doing and what issues they may have inside or outside of golf. There's a lot of ladies I trust out here and they trust me, and we can talk about those sorts of things. But then of course we also talk shop of, what's a good hotel to stay at and where's a good place to eat, and don't use this airline, but try to use this one. We're on a group message with each other, and there was a message that came through this morning about if you have trouble at this hotel or this airport, this is how you get in contact with them, and this is lost luggage happens all the time. This is how you can help this here, and just tips and tricks and how to help each other and try to have each other's back out here.
Yeah, very cool. It makes everyone understands it's a difficult life at times. It can be great when you're playing well, but it can be struggle, and every little thing helps along the way.
It really does. It really does. And I know this life on the road is not for everybody, and I can see how it's hard. And I can see how it would be hard if we had small children and we would be out here. Ultimately, this is why I'm here, is to support him.
Uh-huh.
So I'm very blessed that all our children are old enough that they want to be home and they want to do, early 20s, teenage type stuff at home. I totally get that. But, I kind of wish that I had been out here when our kids were younger and they could have been out here more to experience all of this, because it's definitely something to see and it's not something everybody gets to experience. And they would have seen more of the bad side along with the good. Not saying I want them to see the bad side, but just to know firsthand this is what really goes on more.
Yeah, it's not just a glitz and glamour.
Right. And I feel bad too. I'll be home sometimes, and just recently somebody was asking, is Boo going to be at such and such event? And I was like, no, he's working this week. And they kind of snickered like, huh, work, he's playing golf. And I guess it caught me in a bad moment, and I just kind of went off. And I'm like, look, he doesn't get to be home for birthdays, anniversaries. He misses graduations, he misses holidays. And they're like, well, can you just take the day off? Well, you don't just get to take the day off and come home for that. It doesn't work that way. And, it's not like he's out serving in the military. He's not out saving the world, but this is still his livelihood. And he doesn't just get to pick and choose when he gets to be home. Oh, it's a graduation and it's your birthday and it's Mother's Day and it's Father's Day. I think I'll just take off and be home. It doesn't work that way. So I feel bad. I kind of went off on somebody. I was like, I guess, yeah, I'm not being rude, but I guess you just don't understand this. This is his job. This is like me saying, why are you sitting behind your desk right now? This is your job. This is where you're supposed to be right now. Wouldn't you rather be home with your kid? So I had to go back later and apologize. I kind of went off on somebody. I felt bad, but it's his job, and he doesn't get to pick and choose when he gets to be home. And no, it's not just some glamorous lifestyle where you're just leisurely playing golf all the time. It's his livelihood.
Yes, it becomes a grind because again, you know if you don't play well, then you might not have a job next year. And which is crazy to me that he's a three-time winner and doesn't have really a whole lot of upper level status for the Champions Tour. But I guess, like he was telling me when we were done with the show, I think we stand for half an hour and just catch up. That it's such a limited size field,
Hmm.
and now all the guys that are coming in now are they're all multi-time winners, and it's like, how do you fit everybody in? It's like, oh, we
Right.
gotta qualify just the way that it always was. But it just at some point, it's like, God, when does this become easier? And the answer is, I don't think it does.
It doesn't. They say that the Champions Tour is one of the hardest ones to get on and to stay on, and I see that. You've got 70-ish, 75-ish guys each week. Well, of course, you've got the ones that are top 36 or whatever. They're going to be there, and then you've got ones who are exempt for life. They're going to be there, and then you've got these open spots left. Okay, well, now we're going in order of who made the most money, who had the most wins.
Uh-huh.
And beyond that, if you don't get in there, okay, well, who's going to get a sponsor invite or who's going to qualify this week? So, I mean, some weeks you worry, am I going to play? So far, he's been extremely fortunate. You know, People like him there. People want him to be around. And I can see why. He's an outgoing, fun loving guy. People love him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's a great player. People get out there and watch him and they're like, wow, he still got it. Yeah, he still has it. And people want to see that. And I'm thankful because he really wants to be out here. He wants to do well and he's hungry for it. And he's going to do whatever it takes. And he's working as you know what all to be out here right now.
When someone and I was aware how it kind of worked on the regular tour years ago because again, he and the other friends that were out there and we used to talk about it. I'd see it, I'd hear about it, but how do sponsorships work when you get to the Champions Tour level? Because it is so difficult to say that to go to, I think, Bridgestone, if I'm not mistaken, he's been with them a long time. Um, how do you go to them especially when your agent's trying to negotiate and you can't say I'm going to play these 18 weeks and it's kind of you're waiting to see. You can only say I'm guaranteed 6 events or 8 events, and we got to wait to see how many others. How does that dynamic work with sponsorships?
I think it really kind of varies person to person and company to company. Some companies are like, oh, well, you're not fully exempt. We'll talk to you when you are.
Uh-huh.
And some companies, it's a matter of believing in the person you're sponsoring. And we're very fortunate that Bridgestone does believe in Boo. And in turn, he believes in them. He loves their product. He loves their mindset. He loves their balls. He loves everything about what they have going on, what they believe in. Cool Fish Apparel, we just picked up Simflow. They believe in him. They see what an excellent player he is. They see that he's got a great mindset, that he has a great attitude. He's a great guy to be around, and he can still play a hell of a round of golf. So they believe in him and they want to support him, and that's what they do. And we're appreciative of that. And, along the way, we've made a lot of great friends with these people, and I'm happy to work with them too. And I think as he goes along, he is going to pick up more sponsors based off of just his attitude and how he can play. And of course, he is playing great this year. And the better that gets, the more sponsors are going to get picked up. But I believe that's that way across the board. But I feel like on Champions Tour, it's a little bit different. They do get TV coverage, but it may not be as much. Or they may get invited to make appearances here and there with publicity, but maybe not as much. So that's something a lot of times sponsors want you to have. Obviously, they want their name out there. But I think in our situation, it comes down to our sponsors support Boo because he's Boo.
Yeah,
People
it
love him.
seems like it's not saying this because he's my friend, just saying it because as I study marketing and advertising for some of the other things I do outside of golf, it's like the best relationships are when either the the player, the person, athlete, whatever, celebrity, is aligned with a company where they seem to have similar values, and they seem to have a similar belief system, because then it matches much easier. There's no trying to pitch somebody on something. They have that same belief, so it's like, hey, this is a company I align myself with, because, and here's why. I do this, and this is how they do things, and so it's very easy for me to promote what they do, and I use it myself. I just, knowing Boo, again, I tell people I don't want the trolls out on social media say, well, you don't talk to Boo on a regular basis. No, he was a friend of mine. We played, for a year and a half together. We were together on a regular basis. So you get to know somebody very well when you're hanging out in hotel rooms and playing golf and drinking beer and doing other stupid things and fishing. my real quick Boo story. We were in somewhere in Georgia. I can't remember where, Alan Doyle's place, but I went fishing with the guys, he and Champ, and I think Jake Reeves was there, and maybe Bud Still and a couple of other guys. I'm like a 36 handicap fisherman. I know there's a hook, and I know there's bait, and I know how to throw it, and that's about it. I by the time I hook a fish, I'm like, did it nibble? Did it? I usually hook it when it's halfway down its throat. That's how bad I am. But
No.
we're at this golf course. We go to the golf course to fish because they had, I don't know how many ponds. And I said, Boo, how do you know if there's fish in this pond? And he said, if there ain't no little ones, there ain't no big ones. And I said, that's about as simple as it gets, but it's got to be pretty damn true. But yeah, I think that aligning himself with companies, or agreeing to work with companies that have similar values is key. It's a very big thing, or else people aren't going to believe you.
No, I totally agree. Absolutely.
Do you guys reach out to companies that you think you might like to partner with, or is it mostly them reaching out to you?
Mostly them reaching out to us. Of course, he has an agent that works on that sort of thing. So if we're like, hey, maybe you need to talk to so-and-so, see if something can work out. Sometimes things happen that way. I think with Bridgestone, it was kind of a mutual thing.
You've been with them a long time, if I remember right.
A couple years, yeah. And before he was with them, he was kind of at a point where he's like, I feel like I need to try some different golf balls. I don't feel like the ones I'm using right now are, it's not my full potential.
Yeah, not getting the maximum benefit out of
right.
equipment.
So he tried several ones, and of course, Bridgestone was like, give us a try. And immediately he was like, oh, okay, I think we got something here. And, and they like that he's outgoing and that he's personable. And, it was a good fit for each other. Their whole mindset that they have going on. And that's part of their ball is mindset. And it's just a good fit.
Yeah, they seem to have a blast doing those commercials.
Oh my goodness. And that's the other thing too, is that, they work a lot with St. Andre Golf, and they're hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And Boo's the same way. I tell him sometimes he should have been a comedian in a different life. So it fits when they all get together, and they did like the Santa and the Halloween Boo balls with Bridgestone. That's who he was doing it with. And it was a perfect match, perfect fit. So it just works good that way with certain companies. And he just recently signed with Simflow, and we met them a couple months ago, and instantly we all just clicked. It was like, okay, y'all are great people. We would love to hang out with y'all. It was just a good fit, and you could just see what great people they were. They thought the world of Boo, and it meshed well. And they sponsor Heath Slocum, and that's kind of one of the ways we met them. And they were like, we want you too. This is fabulous. So they're coming out this week. They're going to shoot some content with them, and I'm looking forward to meeting some more of those people and get to know them a little bit better.
As you're on the road and you experience different things, and you have great results, and then sometimes you don't have the results that you want to, do you guys have any superstitions? Like, do you have to do certain things a certain way at certain times? Or have you gotten to the point in life where it's like, yeah, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm just going to do what I do and do the best I can? Always curious to see who has superstitions about different things.
As far as him, I wouldn't say superstitions. He's got certain routines that if he doesn't follow the routine, the day's just shot. He's got to have his routine. And I mentioned that earlier. He's got to be up a certain time before tea time. Has to have a breakfast certain time before tea time. And he's not a breakfast eater. Like, we're at home, he's not going to eat breakfast. And on the road, usually it's
right. So you're saying the great Boo Weekley does intermittent fasting. Is that kind of what you're saying in a roundabout way?
He's just not a breakfast fan. He will get up. He might have maybe a Pop-Tart or something, if that, at home, but on the road, he knows he has to eat. You know, you have to have, you
Yeah, you got to have your
fuel up.
energy. You're going to burn out, especially as we described earlier, the mental stamina.
Exactly. So he knows he's got to eat his breakfast. Then he knows he's going to, you know, make sure he's all put together, got his balls marked, shoes, blah, blah, blah. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And then he's got his warm-up routine as far as driving range, putting green, you know, that sort of thing. So not really superstitious, just very routine. Like he's got to have that routine down to know it's going to be a good day. I think the only close thing to superstitious is he uses a quarter for a ball marker. But he likes to collect old coins. So he'll use a certain old one, and sometimes he'll change it out, but usually it's a certain one and it'll have a certain meaning to him. It always changes. I think on my side, I'm a little superstitious with certain things. I'll find a penny heads up and everybody's like, don't touch money these days. It's going to have something funky on it. You're going to, you know, they're going to kidnap you because you've got drugs in you now or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. And I get that, but I'll pick up a penny. If it's on heads, you have to put it in your shoe because it's good luck. I will walk 18 holes with a dang penny in my shoe that I have found in the course parking lot that morning. And it's the stupidest thing ever, but that's just what I do. And I think it works. I don't know, but maybe it's just me playing mind games with myself.
It could be. I always remember back to Dumbo and the feather. When he's the crows teach him to fly, and then
Had
they
to
say,
have the feather.
yeah, you had to have the feather, and then all of a sudden you don't need the feather anymore. No, I need the feather. Like,
No, I need the feather. Yeah, I need the penny in my shoe.
We're winding down a little bit. I got to ask you before we get to the end, the U-Haul story, because it kind of went viral on. I think the Golf Channel picked it up, and of course YouTube it blew up. But
Right.
You got to give some insight on what happened, some behind the scenes with the U-Haul story last year.
And that's kind of funny you say that because we're in Iowa this week, and that's where we drove the U-Haul to last year. So when we showed up at the course a couple of days ago, everybody was like, "Did you drive the U-Haul this time?" Well, we came from Maryland, Washington D.C. this time, so no, we definitely did not drive anything. Last year we were coming from Wisconsin. I think it was it was Michigan.
Michigan, like around Battle Creek or Grand Rapids, weren't you? Y'all were there.
It was. I know it was Michigan. He was playing in the senior PGA Championship. Yes. And I can't even remember the name of the town now. It all kind of runs together sometimes. But we didn't want to fly because it was like a 4-hour drive. It would be silly to fly because it was going to take 7 hours with a layover and this and that. We would have had to fly to Charlotte.
Jeez.
Hope everything was on time. Hope our luggage doesn't get lost.
No way.
Fly to Iowa. I mean, you're looking at 7-8 hours. We wanted to drive. Well, we went to get a rental car. You could not find a one-way rental car anywhere. We checked everywhere, the airport, everywhere, you name it. You're like, well, what do we? I guess we're gonna have to fly. I mean, we don't have a choice. We can't. You could get a rental car, but you'd have to bring it back. Well, we're not coming back to Michigan. That won't work. We were driving back from the course, still trying to figure out what we're gonna do. I'm on the phone with his agent, trying to figure out. Okay, we need a flight. We got to figure this out. We're driving by a U-Haul rental place. Just jokingly, I say, we can get a U-Haul and drive. It'd get us there. And he's like, ha, funny. Wait a minute. Like, let me call you back. I'm fixing to get on the phone. We get back to the hotel, get on my phone, start looking at U-Hauls. He's like, okay, that is less than the price of a flight. It's about the same you pay for a rental car. Let's do it. Like, all right. So I get online, I book it. He's thinking, you can rent a pickup truck or a moving van kind of thing. The smallest thing they had was a 15-foot box truck. So that's what we drove from Michigan to Iowa. Now, if you've ever made that kind of drive, it's wide open fields, very breezy. We're in this giant box truck like this. He's got the steering wheel like this. Of course, he won't let me drive. I don't blame him. I wouldn't let me drive that either. That truck was going everywhere. We told everybody, look, we've got all this room in the back. Do you want us to take your luggage, your golf club? We'll take anything you want us to. We loaded our stuff in the back and we struck out on the road. AM, FM radio is all we got. So we sang along and we drove the whole way, just made fun with it. We pull up we pulled up to the golf course in Michigan to load up his golf bag and everything from the locker room and all that. And everybody's looking at us like we have three heads. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, don't even ask. Don't even. We get to Iowa. We pull up in the U-Haul at the airport because we had to go straight to the airport here to pick up the courtesy car for the week.
Mm-hmm.
We're pulling up to the airport in this 15-foot box truck. Everybody's looking at us like, what's going on? We probably look like we were going to bomb the place with some box truck or something, but no, we're not crazy. Not like that anyway. So we pull up, we get the courtesy car. Automatically, everybody's like, what the hell are you driving? It's like, that's the only way I could get here. I had to rent a U-Haul, so we took it back, went to the course, and everybody has lost their minds. Y'all are driving a U-Haul. Y'all are driving a U-Haul. The hashtag came out, Boo Haul. Instead of U-Haul, it was hashtag Boo Haul. Went on for a while. We still get asked that everywhere we go. And this week has just been hilarious. Just because it's the year anniversary of Boo Haul.
I'm surprised U-Haul hasn't reached out to you guys to do some sort of deal.
I know there was a conversation with his agent and U-Haul at one time when all that kind of first came about. But at the time, and I don't think there's been a recent conversation, but at the time, they have only ever sponsored teams, like full teams, like a football team or a baseball team, whatever, not an individual. So that would have been new territory for them, which we're not against new territory. So, U-Haul, if you ever need a sponsor, we don't mind driving a U-Haul again.
Well, I think where most people picked it up was your guys' Instagram page, where you were in the passenger seat, obviously doing the recording as you usually do, and taking the pictures. And I don't know if he was singing or what, but he said, we got a U-Haul and we're driving to Iowa.
Yeah, and usually when he sings, he's like the Weird Al Yankovic of songs, either because he can't remember the words or he remembers them, but it sounds better if you sing it a different way. And so there was a lot of that involved, which he does that all the time anyway. It's hilarious. So yeah, I videoed a lot of it, and then the tour picked it up, so they posted it, and it just kind of went from there. Made for a good story, that's for sure. And it definitely, a lot of people are like, oh, you just did that for, social media, this, that. No, we really needed a ride to Iowa, and that's what got us there. There was no put on with that one.
I'd have to, I know he gets asked still about the orangutan story, and I'd have to imagine that the U-Haul story, you got to get asked about that quite a bit.
Yeah, the orangutan and the U-Haul are the two most popular stories he gets asked to tell everywhere we go. And, with the orangutan story, he was a young, dumb kid, as we all were at one time. And I don't think you can do things like that anymore, at least not in this country. But no. Yeah, that was a crazy event.
But the U-Haul one was at least on video, and that's going to be around for a long, long time.
Oh, it's definitely going to be around for a long time. We'll have grandkids and great-grandkids one day going, look at them.
Probably saying, God, that was so cool. I wish I could do something like that.
But they were so cool. I want to be just like them. Yeah, right.
Do you have a few minutes so we could do Emergency 9? I've made just little tweaks for your episode, and it's just a fun way to wrap up before we check out for the day.
Is this like viewer questions kind of thing? Or?
Well, no, not really. It's 9 questions. I usually do at the end of most every episode. The first one, the last one have been the same. There's just over, I passed the 6-year anniversary a week ago of the show. I think you're the 178th episode. So almost every one that we've had time, we try to squeeze this in, but it's just random questions just to kind of have fun at the end.
Yeah, sure. Fire away.
All right. So obviously he was on the Ryder Cup, and I don't think he did that Happy Gilmore. That's another Boo story that everybody's very well aware of.
That's true. A lot of people want to hear about that one.
Yes. So, but after that, I think is when it started, the walk-up songs on the first tee. So I usually ask golfers, what would be your Ryder Cup walk-up song? But for you, if you were, if you were in a member guest, or if you were in some type of event or they're going to announce you and you're going to have a walk-up song, what are you going to have them play to get everybody kind of going?
For my song?
For your song, yes.
Okay, it's definitely going to be anything by Dave Matthews Band. I'm a huge fan. I don't care what it is. It can be their slowest song or fastest song. I'm going to be out there jamming to it. If I had to narrow it down, I would probably say number 41. And most people are not going to know that, but if you're watching, Google Dave Matthews Band number 41. That would be my walk-up song.
Very cool. This one, I'm very curious. This is kind of a fun one. If Hollywood called you guys, called your agent and said, hey, we've seen this, the videos, we've heard the stories, and we want to make a movie about y'all's life, and we're going to let you guys cast who plays you and who plays Boo. What actress and actor are you going to have them cast?
For Boo, I would have to say Kevin James would
Very
be
good one.
probably a good one.
Yes, very
Um,
much.
for me, I would always say Reese Witherspoon, not because I look like her. I definitely don't. She's gorgeous, but I just think she's a great actor, and I feel like she's somebody who could get it down right.
Mm. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right. She did the Sweet Home Alabama. She was very
Yeah, yeah,
good in
yeah.
that one.
I used to have that haircut back then. Yeah, loved her.
um, not that you get, as we talked about, you don't get to see them all, but you get to see a lot of parts of the country. What would be your best vacation spot?
On a golf week or a week when I just get to go
Wherever,
wherever.
wherever you want to, like a beautiful place that you guys have been that you would love to go back to for vacation.
Oh, that's a tough one. Um, we both like being in the mountains, so probably somewhere mountainous. I can't really name a specific city, just anywhere mountains, anywhere where he could fish, and that we could just relax.
Maybe like
Maybe
a Asheville, Banner Elk up in North
somewhere like
Carolina
that.
mountains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere in the mountains like that. And just anywhere peaceful, relaxing, quiet. Um, maybe like hometown feel where there's a small town where you could
Hmm.
just go in and eat at the local restaurants or shop at the local shops or just sit on your front porch and watch the creek go by.
Yeah,
Somewhere
like
peaceful.
Western North Carolina is a lot like that in the mountains. There's small towns. There's not. I mean, I thought I'd retire up there, but I'm like, God, I can only play so much golf and read so many books, and how many memoirs
Uh,
can I write? So wouldn't be there full time, but and how many
right.
times could I learn how to fish? It'd take me a while to learn how to fish, where I could actually catch the hook in the mouth instead of the throat of the fish. So maybe I'd have
Hmm.
something to do for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe it's because we're in flatter. You know, you guys are in the Panhandle. I'm in Hilton Head. And it's
Uh,
flatter, warm areas, and the mountains is completely different. It's cooler, streams, hiking, and all those things outdoors. It's a lot. It's
yeah.
completely different. A lot of fun.
That would be very
I'm
relaxing
with you.
for the both of us.
Um, your favorite show to binge watch?
Ooh. I like anything like historical dramas. So anything like that. I just watched Gentleman in Moscow, even though I know it was not factual. There were facts around it. So
Uh-huh.
just any historical drama. Together right now we're watching Hell on Wheels, which is kind of based on a historical event, but it's not a true story. It's just based around one. So that's kind of my favorite thing. But anything that's going to make us laugh, we like to watch.
Yeah, it gets the mind at ease. You
Right.
don't have to think of all the thinking and mental strain you guys go through on a daily basis. It makes total sense that let's watch something that just shut the
Yeah.
mind off and laugh, have fun.
Just stress reliever of
Hmm.
sorts, just to tune out for a little bit.
This one I'm curious to hear, especially as you had mentioned when the all the wives get together and you're helping each other out with different hotels and airlines and things. Is there an app that you use most? Or a lot more than others on your phone, be it for travel or reservations or anything like that, like where to eat in towns or cities.
I use Google Maps a lot,
Okay. I can imagine.
a whole lot. I'm on social media a lot, but just because I'm helping run his
Uh-huh.
social media. So any social media app and Google Maps while we're on the road are probably the ones I use the most. And then I have a little solitaire game that I play if I've got like a few minutes, I'm waiting somewhere or whatever, just to tune out and entertain.
Very cool. Um, Now, of all the places around the country you've been, I'm sure you've had some great places to eat. If you could pick any restaurant or chain and have it in your kitchen at home, which one would it be?
But that's a tough one. Um, oh, I don't know that I have an answer for that.
Or let's say if you pick a couple. We don't have to pigeonhole you into one. If you,
Like this week, Johnny's Italian Steakhouse in Iowa. We ate there a lot last year. So we had that past 2 nights. That was our leftovers last night.
Mhm.
Um, when we were in Birmingham, we actually went to walk-ons 6 times. We were there 8 nights. We went
I
six
would say,
days. Yeah, by the end of the week, they knew exactly who we were and what we wanted, but we loved it. I had never been to one. He had never been to one. We will definitely be back to walk-ons in any city it's ever in. I know it's a chain, but it was excellent. Their chicken and sausage gumbo, was on point.
very good. So everyone, if you're going to be in Alabama or wherever you are, check out walk-ons.
Yes, definitely.
Highly
The one
recommended.
the one in Birmingham, they were very, very nice people, and they were also supporters of the tournament. So we got to see them in both spots. But yeah, it was delicious.
We'll have that one on the list. So obviously it's a golf podcast, and you're at golf courses quite often. Your favorite condiments to put on a hot dog at the turn or when you're done.
I'm a little weird with what I put on my
That's
hot
why I
dogs.
asked this question. You'd be surprised at some of the answers I've gotten.
We actually had one our first day here this week. We got there and they brought us the menu out, but they had popcorn and hot dogs and all set up. And they're like, "You want us to bring you a sandwich or a wrap?" And I'm like, "We're just gonna get some hot dogs." I like 1 strip of mustard, 1 strip of ketchup. Half of it will have relish, not dill, sweet relish. The other half, sauerkraut.
Mm.
I don't like my relish and my kraut mixed. I'm a little OCD about that. So 1 on one side, 1 on the other.
That one's, you had, everything was all like everyone else would do, and then you hit the sauerkraut. Now, I should say I do eat sauerkraut on a not a quite a regular base. I try to eat it with breakfast with eggs sometimes, just to have something different, and it's supposedly good for you. So it's, you get over 50, you look for things that are healthy.
Yeah.
I haven't had it on a hot dog yet. That's more like a Chicago style.
I love it. I love sauerkraut. I'll eat it by itself, but on a hot dog, perfect.
I'll have to try it. I'll give it a shot.
Definitely.
And then I'll post it and I'll tag you on social media and say, I'm
you'll have to let me know what you thought.
Yes, I'm trying the Susan Harp dog.
There you go. There you go. The Sue dog.
Yes. Your go-to drink in a golf course?
Water.
Really?
Definitely water. Now, I'll start the morning with coffee, and sometimes I'll end it with vodka, but all day long, water. Golf course.
I don't blame you. Probably make you feel a lot better.
It does.
And then the last one, and I only asked this one because, like I said, it's been in every one. You follow, you've been around golf long enough, so you would have an opinion on this. In your opinion, and it could be very strongly biased, the greatest golfer of all time. Who's the GOAT in your opinion?
I mean, you know my answer to that, right? You know my answer to that. You know I'm going to say Boo. Yes. Not just because he's a great golfer, just because he's a great person, and he gives 110% every time he's out there.
It's a very good answer.
Wrong, there are some fabulous golfers out there, and I see some people play, and I'm just like, wow, look at that. That's amazing. But yeah, definitely Boo.
Not surprised.
Uh-huh.
Where can people follow you guys? Social media, websites, anything? Let us know. Of course, we'll have it, as everyone followers know. We put it in the summary, 1-click link to all your things. Right. But just anyone listening, driving right now, that they could hear it and maybe tell whoever's in the passenger seat, get on there and follow. So where can people follow you guys?
On Twitter, or X as they call it now. It's just at Boo Weekley. And then with Instagram and Facebook, we do Cruising with Boozin'. No G on the cruising. It's not cruising. Boo, a long time ago, just said, we started traveling more. He wants to document our travels. And so that's why we started the joint one. He's got his personal Instagram and Facebook. I've got my personal one, but to put all the golf stuff out there and to look back in years to come and be like, wow, we did that. Mm-hmm. So that's why we started it.
Yeah, it's like a log. And you're much better at it than he is. He's
why
good.
I'm doing it.
Yes, he's good in front of the camera, but he's terrible behind it, and you're great behind the camera.
Right.
So right. It's obviously a great team. You guys are doing some great stuff. He's playing very, very good this year, and you have a lot of people pulling for you guys to continue to do so. And very happy that, one, you found each other, and two, the results, I think, are speaking for themselves.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and we're very happy we found each other, and that he's having a great year.
Absolutely. Susan, thank you. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We will catch y'all next time.
Thank you.